Hello everyone. In today's video I want to talk about the watering hole attack. The watering hole attack is relevant, for example, in companies or organizations that employ employees. The scenario is as follows. You have a computer network, an internal network that is perfectly safe, perfectly guarded by a firewall, for example. However, you do have employees. These employees have to visit sometimes third-party websites. Now, from these third-party websites, they usually maybe download some stuff, and through their authenticated users, it gets on your internal network or onto your internal servers, which is perfectly fine. This is how it should be. However, if the third-party website they use gets compromised, then it could be possible that malware gets onto your internal services, thereby infecting your internal network. Because your firewall really doesn't do much if, for example, these employees all use VPNs, therefore they're authenticated in your internal system, and therefore their uploads are all seen as benign. That's why the watering hole attack is also called strategic website compromise, because the websites that these employees are using are tried being compromised and thereby distributing malware to the victim company. The attack consists of 4 stages. The first stage is intelligence gathering. You need to find out which websites or which website employees of the company you're trying to attack are visiting. Once you find that out, the next stage is to analyze what they're doing there. How long are they on this website? Are they using it for uploads, for downloads? So basically, to get an intelligence gathering on their behavior on this website. If they just use it to read something, then you're very likely, or let's say you're less likely to exploit this website. However, it can still be done. In stage 3, which is called attack preparation, you basically scan for vulnerabilities on this web server. Maybe there's a possibility for a cross-site scripting, maybe it's vulnerable to SQL injections, or maybe you can do some request forgeries and thereby redirecting victims on your website, on the malicious website, rather than the benign one. The result of the attack preparation is a compromised website or web service. And this compromised website is then used for stage 4, the attack execution, meaning the employee downloads the malware or you upload the malware via the employee onto your target company network. This attack is possible due to 3 major vulnerabilities. The first one is that many companies apply a bring your own device policy, meaning you don't actually equip your employees with controlled computers where you basically control everything that's on it, and you control, maybe they don't even have admin rights, but if they have their own devices, they certainly have admin rights and they have elevated privileges on their device, and it's like you can't manage them. They're not centrally managed, which is a huge problem. The next one is remote working. One of the many problems with remote working is, first of all, these people are outside of your network. Granted, they're probably connected via a VPN, remember our video on IPsec, but they're probably connected via VPN to your network, otherwise they couldn't access internal resources, but they are not within a controlled network. They are maybe within a uncontrolled network. Maybe they work or via a public Wi-Fi in a train or at the airport without VPN maybe. So that's very dangerous, and obviously that's just a large attack surface for attackers. The third vulnerability, which actually makes watering hole attacks possible, is the repetitive behavior of employees, and this is something that many attackers can use. If you know how employees work, what websites they use, what information they rely on, what documents or what programs they rely on, it's very easy to compromise those. And very easy is maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but it is at least possible. If there is repetitive behavior, then you can maybe exploit that. So bring your own device and remote working are definitely here to stay. This is not going to go away anytime soon. And the repetitive behavior is something that maybe can be mitigated in terms of like talking to your employees regarding the stuff they download or the stuff they upload somewhere. An important mitigation tactic is called attribute-based access control, which is a form or basically a continuation of role-based access control. Role-based access control says, okay, you're in this role, therefore you have these permissions, you have these authentications. Now, attribute-based access control takes into account more attributes, right? They take into account the environment you're in, the object, the subject, so it's much more granular, much more, and you can fine-tune the authorizations much more than you could with role-based access control. Granted, it is also more complicated, and I don't know whether any companies actually employ attribute-based access control. Most use role-based access control, but it seems to be an interesting mitigation tactic against these kinds of attacks. That concludes this video. As usual, if you rely on third-party software, on third-party websites, there is always a risk because you cannot control what's on there. You cannot control their patching, you cannot control their updates, and therefore you always have to be careful when applying third-party libraries, software, websites, and so on. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next.